1983 was a legislative year. Well, let's see. Legislative issues that year. One, we had no broker-lawyer committee. That may not have been the major one to a lot of people, but to me it was so important because the broker-lawyer committee had been set up an agreement between the state bar and the real estate commission of that the realtors would not practice law and the lawyers would limit their activities in real estate under certain conditions. And they had set up this joint committee to prepare forms, and if a real estate broker or agent would fill in the blanks of the form that was promulgated by the broker-lawyer committee, then they would be free of the unauthorized practice of law. And there were provisions for other forms that had not been promulgated yet. So what happened was that Uncle Sam stuck his nose in, and the FBI, or no, Internal Revenue, sent out notices to the State Bar and to the Texas Real Estate Commission that if they didn't quit this deal where they divided up and said who would do what, they said that was might be a violation of antitrust laws. And so they were saying, well, if we kept this organization together, you'd be in violation of antitrust laws. So they dissolved it. Both groups, and of course TAR had most of the membership of the commission, so we were very much involved. And they broke up the broker-lawyer committee and dissolved that. And so there was no way that we could say that when an agent filled in a blank form on a contract, that he was not engaging in the unauthorized practice of law. We worked with the lawyers and we worked with other groups to formulate a legislative new law that did not divide up the business, but set out what we could do and what they could do, certain limits. And part of that was the broker-lawyer committee was reestablished now under the legislature. And when you do those things under the legislature and the law defines what you can do, then there's no antitrust violation. We had to get that set up. So we worked real hard to get that organized. And that bill passed, Tommy Townsend and the rest of us were able to get it passed easily. And that was one of the great things in my life because I was so interested and involved in that. Another thing we had to worry about was they had a condominium law. It was due to expire. It had only been in effect for a few years. And we desperately needed to have a good condominium law so that people dealing in condominiums knew what they could do and what they couldn't do, and how they could set them up and how they could be organized and how they could take an old complex and make it into a condominium or build new ones. And so we worked hard to get the condominium law approved. The realtors were able to get the legislature to pass a law that took the tax off of local real estate. They went to the state and get that abrogated, kill that part of the bill. And that way, the property owner was only left with a city tax, county tax, and school tax, but not a state tax. In 1983, Texas had a part of this major recession, but not as bad as what my friends in Atlanta and places like that told me was happening to them. But we definitely had a recession, 81, 82. and 83 is coming out. And we were able to get a little more mortgage money and make more sales. And actually, by the time the year was over, I was very pleased that we definitely knew we were out of the recession. And that was a great thing. The thing that was surprising to me, even though I was born in the South, I'm an Army brat, but I was born in the South, was the length of time it took to get affirmative marketing really accepted in the heart of the members. Not just on words, but in the heart. And affirmative marketing moved a little slower than we thought it would at that time, because we were working on that affirmative action at that time. The definition of affirmative marketing was that you treated everybody the same, regardless of race, creed, color, education, or whatever. If a person was financially able to buy or build, then you were not allowed to refuse to sell them any piece of property. Affirmative marketing was the beginning of fair housing. That's correct. And it so happened that the presidents around my time, Benny McMahon, Hub Bechtel, Bill Jennings, Bob Wertheimer, and a lot of those people that were active around that time were such nice people to work with. They had the good of the whole industry at heart. So that made it nice to work.